Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vex Warfield. I am Vex, your host. And tonight, I want to go talk a little bit about the future and possible futures. Maybe not in a standard way. Here in a little while, I'm going to go ahead and play this video that was sent to me, and it's actually it's real informative, and it helps to it helps to expand your mind, maybe get you to look at something from a new point of view, or maybe even expand the point of view you already have. It's, if one thing I want to do is try and expand as much critical thinking as possible. And if I can get someone to, expand their mind and look at things from a different point of view, then that's exactly what I want to do. Hey, Disavow, good to see you. And I don't know. Things like this I've been thinking about for a very long time. Uh, I started my spiritual journey. It was started in science, oddly enough. Um, my logical side is very strong. Um, I'm not saying my logic's perfect or anything, far from it. Hey, Scrimshaw, good to see you. I'm not saying my logic's perfect, far from it, but I'm willing to adjust my logic. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm not wrong, well, then I'm not wrong. The thing is, I want to be right. I don't want to put forth information that I don't think is true. So this is what this video that I got is from the YouTube channel Inspire. Inspired or Inspire? Inspired. Yeah. Inspired. Yeah. Links in the description. For those of you who want to check it out in your own time, because I'll be playing this, but my video usually doesn't play very well as a standard, so it's mostly audio, so it works out in that way. Well, actually, I think it is all audio, but yeah, you'll see. Basically, this is going to expand your mind a little bit. It's going to, you could even, if you come at it from a biblical text, or not a text, but if you come at it from a biblical point of view, then you'll see what I'm talking about. Basically, what it's going to cover is how everything in these simulations that were done by our, air quotes, government, then they were doing basically having these people in the military who were basically good at solving problems and things of that nature. They had them working on these problems that basically they wanted to foretell the future, and basically running all the numbers and all this. They basically ran simulations to figure out impossible uh, uh, futures, things that would happen if, say, this choice was made rather than this choice was made. How would that affect the future? Well, it gets to a point where all of their simulations come to a bottleneck, and hence the name of the stream tonight. It hits a bottleneck where after this certain point, no choice made will have an effect on what's going to happen. And by what globalism and everybody attached to it has been doing, has been pointing us to this bottleneck to find out what's going to happen. I know it's kind of strange, but these people, they've been basically handed this type of information passed down through generations. And so they've been playing a long game of whatever their ultimate end is, I'm not in their heads. I'm not privy to their, meetings and stuff like that. But the stuff they've been planning is a long game, and it's big. I personally believe it's to usher in beings from another dimension. But yeah, hey, that's just me. Well, maybe more than just me, but that's my take on it. That's what I think has been plaguing the human existence since the beginning. Has been these extra dimensional beings contacting us through um, sensitive people who are able to contact other dimensions. I mean, just the way somebody might try and astral project or um, be clairvoyant, clairaudient. Um, there are people out there who are sensitive enough to do it. So, I mean, well, I've done other shows where I've explained that I believe that uh, each individual human has this vast potential, and this video will, touch a little bit on that also. Oh yeah, I wanted to play that in the background, not not the video, but this. Um, but yeah, they touch upon it in the video. No, I don't. I don't do DMT. Disavowed. No, thank you. I believe you can do it through natural means, like I was just explaining, like astral projection or hell, just straight up empathy or um, clairaudience. I mean, this is all possible. The potential for the human spirit within this meat suit is vast. I have no doubt to that. Now, your own limitations are just that, your own. But I believe everybody can learn, and it's through things like meditation, um, through keeping yourself calm, being aware of your surroundings. I mean, that's part of it. Um, letting your mind empty and then fill it with exactly what you want to be thinking of. I mean, I'm putting it simply, of course, but this takes practice, and the more practice you get at doing it, the better you get. And you could just follow the rule of if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And right now, as humans as a whole, we've kind of lost it because we haven't been taught to use it. And quite frankly, in our past, we've burned people at the stake for using it. I mean, witches and wizards and all this other stuff in their past. Well, maybe it's not so far fetched. No, no. I ask for an open mind. And I found that if you are able to keep your mind open and consider it, no matter how big the consideration, but just be willing to consider it, some things will start connecting. Well, as a matter of fact, Disavowed, you're kind of making my argument for me because prayer is part of that too. A group of people getting together, concentrating on one thing, things happen. So, yes, actually, you don't disagree. You agree. It just might not be in the way that you expected to agree. But I'll go ahead and run this video. Hey, Cybertoxin, good to see you. Share audio. All right, we got that up there. We'll make this bigger. No, bigger. Thank you. All right. Let's see what that looks like on the other screen. All right. Huh. I'll have to look into that cybertoxin. Huh. Interesting. All right. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and play this, and we'll see what you guys think about it.
One of the caveats that I do have some personal information that I did get personally involved in was some information that had to do with the Stargates and Looking Glass, and more specifically, the 2012 problem with those projects. The popular opinion of what's out there right now is that the project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012. I've heard it described a number of ways, but to my knowledge, the problem is that the timelines converge on that point in time. And when you know enough about the Stargate projects and the Looking Glass project to know how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works and how making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean that the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make. And that's important to the people that had access to Looking Glass because they would use Looking Glass knowing the choices that they would make and the future would pop up. The big mistake was coming up with the possibility of future. And when we started using a computer to say, well, if we make this choice, it's 79% possible that this scenario happens, and 23% are possible or whatever, using round numbers, that this scenario would happen. The understanding at the time was that was realistic. However, if you go down the road further and free will continues to exercise itself on this game, that 79% possibility sometimes changes very, very fast. But if you look at the situation in a point of time, it seems very realistic that that's the greatest possibility. What happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up. Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the Looking Glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision, no possibility changed past a certain point. That's the big secret. All possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history in the future. That is what sends everybody that has all of the information, that knows everything, into a blind panic. The people that know everything about Looking Glass, that have gotten all the reports and all the information, the elites of the world, probably figured out that that was the end of the game. And nothing could be manipulated beyond that point. When I was in the military, it would have been before 97 when I got in trouble. one of my particular areas that I was amazingly intuitive about is problem solving / mission planning, or more specifically, taking a bad mission and fixing it. Certainly knowing how string theory and possible futures works makes it so you can work your mind very quickly to see the reality of what's happening and decide what decisions need to be made to change it for a particular outcome. At a certain point, after they're done hearing the computer tell them, this is what's going to happen over and over and over and over again, all they become focused on is, how do we fix it? What I do know is that I was called in and asked to solve this problem, this timeline contraction problem. And I eventually did my due diligence and did all the investigating, and basically only had one piece of information, and that was reinforcement. The computer's right. The timelines will contract down to some inevitable thing. There is an inevitable event. It's been forecast, it's been predicted, it's been fed to us in a slop trough of what they want us to believe will happen. They don't actually have control over what happens. They only have control over the reaction, and it seems that no matter what they try to do to cause their desired reaction, it's going to have an opposite effect. Much, much easier for me to explain today what that process is as opposed to back then. If I had to give it a name, I would say it's the awakening process. It's an evolution of consciousness that cannot, will not, and no matter what decisions or possibilities are injected into the equation, eventually it all resolves down to us all learning the truth and becoming aware of this massive dam of lies that has been built that keep us from knowing massive volume of information that we should otherwise possess. Essentially what happened with Looking Glass, not only did they not want people to use it anymore because they knew it was just going to burp out the same thing, but at the same time, they didn't want anybody else to know what it was saying, I'm sure. Because that information was a monumental concern when I was in the military about how to prevent this inevitability. Now, at first, I thought it was end of the world. Now I see end of the world as end of their world. The biggest cherry on top of all this conversation would be a synopsis to say that if I could convince everybody out there that for all intents and purposes, what we believe to be true eventually becomes true. If somebody convinces us that a major disaster is going to happen in the very near future, a major disaster happens in the very near future. If we don't buy into that fear and accept that there's really nothing that we know is going to happen, and accept of whatever happens, that makes the convergence of the timelines happen as naturally as possible. Any attempts to try to go away from this one inevitable conclusion, I again see as a new beginning, an end of this reality, the beginning of something that we can't even possibly understand based on the level of our beliefs currently. But when all that information comes flooding out, there's going to be no denying what's true and what's a lie or what's illusion. Basically, what we're experiencing right now is two master chess players sitting at the board. And one of them looks down at the board and sees that he's in checkmate in 7 moves. And he looks across at his opponent and he knows that his opponent sees it too. So there's no getting out of it. So at this point, the loser can only prolong the game. Both players know the game is over. It's only a matter of time before he does this, and then you're forced to do this, and then he's forced to do this, and eventually checkmate. We, as a race, if we could understand that the game is over, that based on the rules of the game, the bad guys have already lost, the good guys have already won. Yes, there's moves left on the table, but those moves are being forced by the player that is going to win. The only way that checkmate can't happen is if the player that's winning makes a mistake. But from all of the information that I've gathered, all of the information that's been given, all of the information that's been vetted to me, it seems pretty obvious that the good guy player on the side of the chessboard knows exactly what has to be done to win the game. And so at this point, any mistake would be all but impossible. But again, you really have to understand the game to know that the guy that's losing is lost. And I'm sure most people sitting watching a chess match between two advanced chess players know the game's over long after the two players know it's over. Because they can't see the board and see that there's only 7 moves left.
Yes. All right. Now, what I wanted to do is go ahead and, of course, open up the panel, get some other people's perspective on this. Um, this ties into so many other things. I love saying it. It's all connected, and it is. Now, one of the things I thought about this right here, this video that I just played, is that we're in the middle of what exactly they were talking about. This bottleneck is coming. It's almost here. And just like what Sean was putting in the chat, um, it's coming. I mean, this has all been made to happen, manufactured. Hey, Veritas, good to see you. Deja vu, indeed. Yeah, after a certain point of this, it can't be changed. Hello, Survival. Welcome. You're muted. There you go.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. Oh, I thought you had other people coming up here.
If they so choose, yeah. I'd like a few people to come up here and talk about this type of
I'm
thing.
looking back through. So I watched that one earlier when you posted it,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's super fucking interesting, man. And I think who's it in here? Sean said the Bobby Fischer days, and that
Yeah.
brings me to the point of man, what was his name? Favlov, 1996. Does that ring a bell to you at all? I think it
It
was
does, but I don't
Favlov.
remember.
I think it was Favlov 1996, and it was a computer. It was the first computer that ever beat the top chess player.
Ah,
So that kind of, and then when he said Bobby Fischer, that reminded me of that.
well,
So when AI can beat the top chess player in the world, you gotta be questioning a little bit.
well, that's what I was saying. I mean, the simulations that they do, you know that they're insanely meticulous. And you know they're going to go to several different sources if they can't get what they want from it. And every source that came back said that this was happening. Oh, we lost her. Come back. Susanna, come back. But
Baby, come back.
yeah, baby, come back. But yeah, this Dusty Data, good to see you. But what's happening? What has been happening for the past couple of years? Um, we'll just use the timeline of Trump presidency just to make it easy mark for everybody to follow.
Yeah.
All right. Ever since that period, stuff has been happening really, really fast. I mean, people used to joke around a little bit and say, oh shit, I just lost that saying. Time flies when you're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in all actuality, that was true to a point. But now, if that was actually true, then we'd be having a hell of a good time right now because every minute is flying by. I mean, even to the point where I go to work today and it seems like I just got there and it's over. Usually work drags on for me because,
Do you
quite
think
frankly, I hate my job. But,
do you think that has anything to do with age?
well, it depends
I
on
think it
what you
might
mean
have
by
some.
age.
So I feel the same as you. Show up at work for an 8-hour shift before you know it, the freaking day is done.
Hmm.
It didn't used to be like that when you were a kid. Work dragged on and on. You're like 20 or something. You just want to get out of there so you can go hang.
Oh,
You got to work your 8-hour shift. It drags on and on. As you get older, it just seems like time speeds up. And I wonder if that's an age thing.
well, yeah, in that aspect, I would say that, yeah. Well, when you get older, as you get older, you get more experiences, and I believe your mind is occupied with more complex things, or supposed to be. So, in that regard, I don't know about you, but whenever I'm running scenarios in my head, I have fun doing it. So it's next thing I know is a couple hours later, that type of thing. So I lose
Yep.
track of time easy
Yeah.
in that regard.
That didn't
And
used to happen when we were young, though, I don't think.
right, because most of what we thought about was surface things, flights of
Yeah.
fancy, and the cute chick that sat in front of us in
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. You got to get cool shoes, then you got to get a cool car,
Right.
and you got to get a nice house, and
So it's
then,
all
whatever.
surface stuff that's not very complicated. But as we get older, our thoughts are supposed to get more complicated and more complicated and more complicated. And we're supposed to teach the kids to get more complicated. Welcome back, Susanna.
Hello, sorry, I had to change devices.
No problem. What's on
Hi,
your mind?
Suzanne.
I know I was watching that, and as I was saying hi and I entered the chat, and I might have missed some of it in the beginning, but it struck me as familiar only because I've had some strange things happen to me, where at some point it seems that something has changed. And in my mind at the time, I was thinking to myself, well, it just seems odd. I don't know why. It's just something I felt.
Like a
And then,
paradigm shift or something?
yes, something. It wasn't like something changed in the way that whatever was supposed to happen wasn't happening, and it was switching. Things were happening. It's hard to explain. Some of it was happening the same, but other things were happening different, almost as if you're living in two separate
At the same time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I know, it's the only example that pops into my mind because I've used the example in a different way. But the example that comes to mind right off the bat is when you're a virgin and you've had sex for the first time, right afterwards, you have a different way of thinking. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I was talking about the same scenario. You might even be around the same age if you were a kid my age and you had sex for the first time and then you watched the movie The Matrix. So you got all these People say, you know, they're like, okay, you could take this pill, remain naive and happy, and just, you know, it'll be comfortable for you. Take this blue one, red one, like figure it out for yourself. See the real deal. Here you go. What are you going to choose? You know,
Yeah, right. And then some point, for some reason or other, um, but it's something that I've felt ever since I was really young. So um, when it started shifting for me, anyway, as far as I can, what I was feeling was in the early '90s when I started feeling, okay, something's definitely changing. Um, this is it me? You know, is it just me? Am I the only one feeling this? Because when you are going through these things, some of us that are a little more sensitive to, you know, the earth vibrations and things of that nature, we don't we tend to even second guess ourselves on a lot of these things. Um,
Hmm.
so in my thoughts, um, even before I had seen this, to me it was like, for some odd reason, we will still end up at the same point, even though it's almost as if we're living in these two separate timelines at the same time, which is just odd to me.
Almost like a veil has been thinned.
Right. It's very hard to explain.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not.
I mean, this is something that I've thought about for a long time. Ever since the DMT thing came to a head and basically got out in the mass public and everything like that, I was listening to Joe Rogan at the time, of course, and he was explaining, you know, all this stuff about DMT and all this stuff he saw, and you know, basically that whole thing that probably everybody else saw too. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know, if I was to control a population around me, say like in like cowboys and Indian days, say I'm a shaman, I would take this DMT and I would get help from these extra dimensional people that allow, you know, the DMT would actually thin that veil so you could communicate in a, say, different dimension and get advice about what they should be doing. And then the shaman becomes more and more powerful because, well, lo and behold, the stuff that he's, you know, bringing into the cowboys and Indians world, all this knowledge that he's bringing is working. It's doing good and stuff like that. So now he becomes more powerful. It's a way for subjugation. But what, on the other hand, the rest of the tribe there has their own ability to contact another dimension and actually access, well, I think most people call them the Akashic records.
Hmm.
And that's a vast, even bigger wealth of information than anything you can get from some other being in another dimension, because they
hey,
would be limited by what they know. Go ahead.
sorry, man. I don't know how to properly ask to talk. But
Yeah.
like Susanna was saying, though, like she said, I'll get back to your point of like the video that you shared because I watched the whole thing and it's very interesting. But they were saying the vibrations of the earth may be off or something like that. I think it's 432 hertz is the normal vibration of the earth, I believe. And so if this is what, and I don't want to get you in trouble with your channel either. So I've got all these different theories about getting, I mean, I don't even want to say it just because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But
Look, man,
can hertz and
as far as my channel
metals
goes,
be manipulated?
hold on, just as far as my channel goes, man, don't worry. I've talked about so many different things here that, well, I haven't been shy. Let's just put it that way. So you just go ahead.
So humans know how to manipulate frequency, and
Mm-hmm.
the current frequency of the Earth is 432 hertz normally, and so you could put frequency in people's ears. You can pump it through them with whatever, however you're going to do it, with bass or
Yeah.
with
Sound.
however.
Yeah. Or just a regular
People are
frequency
being
generator.
injected with heavy metals, and so how are people taking advantage of that? And do we not know anything about that? I just don't know.
Well, think about this. What happens? We'll just say we'll use microwave energy because, quite frankly, that's what the cell phones use. What do microwaves energy do to meat? It cooks it. What does microwave energy do to metal?
Hmm. Like distorts it.
Well, it vibrates it to the point of
It starts on
igniting.
fire.
Yeah.
You can't put
Now,
metal in the microwave.
now, imagine that this stuff has been pumped into our air. We'll make the connection by saying chemtrails, and we are breathing it in. It is going through our entire system internally. And once you get these frequencies up to the right point, what's it going to do? Let your
Yeah.
imaginations just contemplate that for a minute.
And that makes sense that makes sense in the way that people are talking about the spiritual side of it as well, if you think about it, because they're weighing them down with these heavy metals. They're grounding them in a sense permanently.
That's a good point. Grounding.
Sean is already way too metal. There's no coming back for him.
I like me some heavy metal.
Well,
But
I can see data.
but the thing about that is what you were saying, Susanna, about this being in our body and weighing us down, grounding us, almost as if they're, well, think about it metaphorically. If you're naturally born to float and rise, what would be the best way to weigh you down so you don't? Pump the
Hmm.
body's full, you concentrate on the physical form, and you're not thinking about the spiritual form at all. So it
Right,
keeps you focused on this reality and makes you think there is nothing more. It
right, and
solidifies your place in it.
right, and that makes me think of about why um, people are also acting strangely.
Yes. Well, think about this. What does metal do to the human brain? I mean, think about it.
Mhm.
Just think about drinking a cup of water and metal shavings. What's it going to do to your esophagus and your stomach?
It's gonna be good stuff, man.
Well, think about it. This stuff
Carve you right
is
up.
nanoparticles going
Yeah,
through our system.
yeah. When it's nanoparticles, that's when it's manipulatable.
And the thing
You
about it
can't just
is,
have shavings in your fucking throat, dude.
uh,
I'll just
well,
cut it up your throat.
right. Well, that's a distinction I want to make also. These particles, people think of it as nanotech as far as little robots swimming in our bloodstreams and stuff like that. No, no. Think about it as part of a nanobot. They cannot, they do not have a way to safely use that inside the human body yet.
Oh, dude, I know. And you want to know what a funny? Sean says he listens to a lot of metal, and this might be even sacrilege, but you might know, Vex. Remember that video that Metallica did of the Hero of the Day? It was Hero of the Day. It had a little bot that came out of the guy's ear.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
remember that video?
Well, James Hetfield himself is not. We'll just say he's not woke.
Good.
A lot of that stuff that I mean, okay, I love the fact that you brought up Metallica. Um, Metallica has a song called "My Friend of Misery." The lyrics of that song describe fucking Karens all over the world. I mean, it actually explains what is going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'll go ahead and quote a little. An empty can rattles the mouth. The sound of your own voice must soothe you. Hearing only what you want to hear and knowing only what you heard. You're smothered in tragedy and you're out to save the world.
Dude. Yeah. Hell yeah.
James Hetfield, a long time ago, said, and I moved out of the big city areas. Those people drive me crazy.
Yeah, I can't. I don't live in big city area either. But I mean, I didn't want to pull you off track. To get you back on track, the bottleneck though,
Mm-hmm.
the awakening coming. You can see how they're really trying to. I don't know if you can see it. I think you can see it. I think that everybody else here can see how hard they're trying to hold back. They're trying really hard to hold it back. It's obvious.
Yeah, bitter to the end. Their fingernails are going to be scratching on the edge of that cliff. They will try and grab and take us with them.
My gender.
I, the many different levels to all of how we're being attacked, it cannot be underestimated. You can't, because they are attacking your very spirit. And yes, they know you have a spirit. They've known it for a long time. They know there's a God. They know there's, well, other entities. They know because they've been messing around with it for a long time. Now, everything is connected. I love saying that because it's so true. But everything is connected, and this is no different. They attack us from every angle is possible. That is possible. And they will not stop unless we make them stop.
Right.
Well, you saw just recently they got some guy, some college professor. I mean, are all colleges left wing? I don't know. There's a college professor that says child molesters should be, or not necessarily child molesters, but pedophiles, or what do he called them? Maps, dude. I don't even know what that is. They're trying to destigmatize people who like kids in college now. I'm like, man, it's called MAPS. It's minor attracted peoples. And I'm like, no, that's 100% wrong. You can't get away with that.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy some of the things that they're doing and they're trying to instill into our children today. And some people are just letting them, and it's like, seriously?
Yeah.
It's nuts out there, some of these things that are happening. Even before this stuff was happening, I was out there I was one of the very few people in the beginning advocating for not just my kids but some of the other kids around them, with some of this stuff and when some of this stuff was going on. And so today I can't believe how many are still just complying with all this stuff. It's unbelievable to me.
And that's how much their souls have been weighed down to this mortal coil. Now, I mean, there's ways to get them out of it. There is. And I've said it many times on my live streams. It's not entirely their fault. I mean, we just spoke about all the stuff that's being done from all angles to make sure that they don't know that they can achieve more than they can. As a matter of fact, it's been flipped on its ass. And now it's made so they're basically blatantly saying that nobody can do anything without approval from somebody in authority. I mean, it's right out there in the open now. Survival.
Hey, you guys, you're 100% right. unfortunately, I got to get going. You guys, I got to jump off here. My wife is asking for some help with the new dog. So
Right on.
thanks for having me on, and it was a pleasure talking to you, Vex and Susanna, and
You
Chad.
too,
I'll see
Bible.
you guys. I'll see you guys around.
Yeah, thanks for coming up and
Have a
hanging
good
with me,
night.
man. You
Good
too,
night.
Yes,
man.
sir. Later.
But I say it over and over and over because it's so damn true. It's all connected. And
Yeah,
all
that's
these
very
people
interesting.
have been bogged down by this slurry or this concoction of stuff meant to weigh you down. Even up into the point of little micro metal. They've got our fluorides, the fluoride packing into our brain so that we lose IQ, which is true. And we'll just say the food pyramid is the worthless, absolutely worthless. It's
Right.
meant to make fat people. Because you know what? People got fat by following the food pyramid. You were wanting to say something, Susanna?
No, I agree with everything you were saying. I'm just agreeing. And I don't know, a lot of this is very interesting to me, just following it. Um, you know, like Scrimshaw was saying, yes, it's been happening for many years. Just on at different levels, at different moments in time. And almost like we're reverting back, in some ways, not maybe necessarily some of us, but others of us are. And you see it, and it's very uh, shocking in a way to
Mm-hmm.
even listen to some of them speak to you because of the things that they're saying and the things that they're reverting to. Um, I don't even have words for it sometimes. Um, yeah, it's mm,
It gets really nebulous. It really does. I mean, and that's where, whenever I talk about this to just run of the mill people I run into every day, I instantly get this glassy eyed look and they don't know what I'm saying. They're just nodding their head, going, uh huh, uh huh. And I'm just like, man, it's so sad. I mean, even back when I was younger, the people that I would hang around with and stuff like that, I could talk about certain things like this and they'd be like, yeah, no, okay, but what about this? And they'd actually be able to think critically. Nobody thinks critically today because everything is about the surface. Everything is
it's
about the headline.
right. And I'm seeing it even in simple, um, with people even that you still talk to but haven't really talked to about these things, even though all this stuff has been happening these, past few years. And they put something, you mention something, they take a big offense to it, even though it's really wasn't like geared toward them or at them,
Mm-hmm.
just a little comment. And, they go off. And then you're like, okay, um, that wasn't directed in that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're trying as little, you're trying to get them in that mode to where I know you're somehow, some way not doing what you were before. You're not thinking as critically as you were before. You're not even listening. A lot of them aren't even listening at all or paying attention, and they don't want to, and they'll tell you that. And it is really hard to get through to somebody like that. But you still kind of put things there, or hoping that you're getting somebody to look, at least look at it with, the eyes of somebody with a little bit of an open mind at least, um, and come back to this reality in a way, whatever that reality is. But, um, and think, be able to think more critically again, because it seems like there are older generations as well who are losing that
Mm-hmm.
because of some of the things that are happening. So you see it in a lot of different places. And like I said, it's just kind of mind boggling when, even though you know why, certain parts of these answers, but still it's mind boggling how you see that transformation of somebody else right in front of you, right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, that's been a problem with me. I mean, you know how much I, try and talk to people about the assembly and stuff like that. And that's been one of the main hurdles that I've had to come to terms with
Right.
is a lot of these people just have no idea what you're talking about.
Hmm.
And they will not understand until their systems are cleaned out. That's one of the reasons why I got on the kick about making sure, telling as many people as possible about supplementation, getting the right nutrients in your body so your body has basically the ammunition to fight off all this stuff. And the more you cleanse out your system with the different ones, and I'm not just talking about the gross parts of the cleansings, talking
Yeah.
about your liver and all that good stuff.
Hmm.
Um, it will keep you healthy and protect you against all that. I, like I said, we're being attacked at multiple levels, and one great defense is your own personal health. And it's not as difficult as what you might think. It may be hard to redirect your way of thinking about your intake of foods and other things, but in the long run, I mean, if you don't want to continue killing yourself slowly, then do something about it. And it's really easy to do. I
Hmm.
mean, it may get harder in the next, few months or so like that because of all the, we'll just say, shortages and the impending crash, I believe, that's coming in a few months.
Hmm. Yeah,
But yeah, go ahead.
and another thing as well is there's Vex, I just forgot what I was going to say.
Happens to me all the time.
Oh my gosh. Um,
Yeah, don't worry about it. Coming to you. But yeah, personal health is one of those things that I've been a stickler for because I understand how it works because I used it on myself.
right.
I mean, that's just the plain short of it. I experimented with different things on myself. Like I've said before, I have a logical type mind, so I treat stuff like that as a little science experiment. I've
Hmm.
said it many times. When I started doing iodine, I did 1 drop a day for a week, and then 2 drops a day for a week, and then 3 drops a day for a week, just to see how that would affect my body and my metabolism and stuff. I saw results within the second day.
Hmm.
I mean, results will vary, of course, for everybody. But I found out myself what I needed. I got it. And quite frankly, I've I've never been this healthy in my life. Never. Even in
Right.
my childhood.
Right. And you know, that's another thing is not just for their health in that way, but in other ways as well. Because if you can't move, how are you gonna get away from a situation that you may find yourself in, which can be in any number of types of situation, from the weather to what may be going on around you, physically, with other people. So you know just in the way of protecting yourself in many different ways, people need to start doing that, and that there's a reason why these people are not teaching that anymore.
Hmm. Yeah, well, uh, well, it makes perfect sense if you're trying to get an entire population to be nothing and subservient. How do you do that? You make them not want to move. You make them not want to think. And you make them as superficial and shallow as possible. And that's what we've been running towards, like we're a freaking freight train ever since the 80s.
Okay, now, Scrimshaw Rose said, so what does this have to do with timelines? Because, okay, what this has to do with timelines to me is by being weighed down and not by all these things, whether it's, you know, the way that you think in your mind, the way that they're getting these people to think that way, whether they're getting people to, not eat correctly, even with the so-called vegan food, which is not that good for you because of the things that it's made out of. If you really look at it, especially for certain people, sometimes some of it has a lot of estrogen in it, and men should not be eating that. There are a lot of things spiritually wrong with some of these things, and in order to get where people need to be, they need to start looking at themselves again and paying attention, and even if it's slowly getting back to themselves, back to you know they're gonna have to go eventually move forward again from where they reverted. I think you understand what I'm saying, because people are reverting backwards now, and now they're going to have to push forward again to get to that level they were before.
All right. And as far as the bottleneck goes and how it relates to this is all the symptom of the bottleneck. The bottleneck itself has been, the reason I was talking about how people are becoming right now, lethargic, dim-witted, all that stuff, totally manipulatable. It is part of that bottleneck. It's an active sign of it, because after a certain point, that bottleneck, no matter what choices are made, the part past this initial bottleneck is already done. It's already, it can't be changed by the choices beforehand. That's why the bottleneck analogy is really good, because we are at this funnel point, and the lack of health and stuff like that is a choice that needs to be made now or never.
Right. And I think
And
that's, like you
go ahead.
said, they're attacking us from all sides. And that's one of the things somebody brought up, 5G. And I mean, look at all the power lines and everything everywhere. All these, some of them are invisible now, some of them are underground. I mean, even that is attacking us,
Right.
in different ways with frequency as well.
Yeah, the Sunfish is asking about a 5G ecosystem. We don't need it. It's being imposed upon us. We know for a fact that fiber optics is superior. The only bonus to 5G in itself as its own thing is that it's wireless. That's why it was able to be pumped so hard, and why we all have cell phones now. Otherwise, fiber optics is far superior, faster, more reliable, and quite frankly, a lot cheaper.
And it's not pushing pollution into the
Right. It's way
air.
safer. Yes. Excellent point. I'm surprised I forgot that one. Duh. But yeah, I mean, fiber optics itself is fast as light communication. I know I'm not getting near fast as as light communications on this damn modem that I use, because it's inferior. this line of if this would have been brought up when people were still on the average thinking about America and how there's honor in the world and duty and just plain good people trying to do good things on just a daily level. If this would
Mhm.
have been proposed in that day, they would have freaking laughed it out of the hell, whatever hall they were in. They would have been laughed out because one, they never showed us all the safety um, tests that they've done. Um, we've done tests on our own and found out a lot of things get cooked with that stuff. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things that is in place right now in a clear thinking society would never have been put through, and they knew this. So they have put all these other things in place to allow them to put stuff through. Now they've gotten to the point where they just don't even pay any attention to us and they just put stuff out there.
Right. And it's almost like everything is polluted now. The air, the ground. Um, there's a reason why people were seeing a lot of different types of. I follow a lot of people, so a lot of people that I know that were growing crops, their own crops this year for their families, even if it was just their families,
Right.
were finding that what they grew before wasn't growing for some reason, but they were able to grow some other things.
Right.
But for some reason, they were having those failures, and this was in different places. So it wasn't just centered on one place.
Nope.
These things are happening.
Yeah. All over the place at the same time. I mean, all you really have to do is look up on a clear sky and watch the chemtrails fly by. I mean, this stuff has been sprayed on us for I don't know how long, and they've been doing it in small amounts. And then in the past, we'll just use the same timelines, since right around when Trump got in office, they increased it. I mean,
Yeah, there's definite like different there's different times where you can tell it's been a little different than other times. And it's more pronounced, but to people who are really listening and paying attention, whether it's like Scrimshaw Rose, who's more spiritually in tune with it. um I seem to have been more in tune on both sides. So for me, the way I'm seeing it is more of, at times I see this distortion, but it's not, I don't know how to explain it. It's not as horrible as some people would like to think, but at the same time it is. I don't know how to explain it. But then I think it's because I think I'm thinking that way though, because when I'm thinking of it, I also see that at some point it merges to this outcome that for some reason, no matter what happens, no matter what any side does, it's going to go into that same outcome.
hmm but the bottleneck itself, actually, you're pretty much dead on. I mean, the point of that video was to show it. Well, one of the points of the video was to show that after a certain point, the rest of it is written or will not change in any way, shape, or form. That means it's a point that it's over. No more choices matter. What's going to
Right.
happen will happen.
Right. And I
So,
think
yeah,
in I'm sorry, I didn't mean,
go ahead.
I think in my head, um, that's why, that may be part of the reason why they're doing what they're doing, is because they don't care. And they will drag anyone down with them, um, who's willing to follow.
Oh, yeah. And they've gotten most of everybody so dumb that they're easily manipulated and they will follow. I mean, hell, I'm in Missouri, and here we I still see people driving alone with masks on their face. Those
Right.
people are lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, we can try and bring them back, but there's no way we can do that with how things are right now. Because if the media wasn't so corrupt and taken over and all that stuff, then we'd have a chance because we'd be able to at least get some good truth out there to a decent media outlet and be able to inform the mass population, hey, this is all bullshit. You're all right. But we don't have that. That would be one key area. Now, since we don't have that, and it sounds really cold to put it like this, but we have to do a little triage here. We either try and drag everybody, all that dead weight with us, and have them weigh us down, or we
Mm-hmm.
leave them behind. I'm sorry, but that's just the logic of it. Now, later on, we can go back for them. Make no mistake. And believe me, if it's up to me, I have full intention to. But right now, we can't afford that dead weight weighing us down. We have to plug forward. We can go back and save them later. But we have to take care of business first. And that business is putting everything right so that we don't have nanoparticles breathing into our lungs to scar it up and give us all respiratory problems.
Right. And
Right.
that brings up another interesting thing for me that I was thinking about is, you know, um, back in the 90s as well, when I was listening to certain, radio stations and things like that, I would listen to certain talk show hosts, and um, even then, they would they were saying things like, talking about how this was happening, and trying to get people to listen. And for the most part, the people that were listening to them were listening, but the people that they were trying to tell just told them they were crazy. And you know that how that kind of goes.
Mm.
Um, so it's interesting to have followed this as well throughout the years.
I was just reading Scrimshaw's post there. How does anyone really know all this stuff is even real? Well, perception.
I think about that a lot, Scrimshaw. I think about that because I've had so many things happen to me throughout my whole life that I can't explain. And when I try to, when I say anything um, about it, I tell them now, look, this is pretty much you're listening to one of the very few times that I'm saying this and talking about it, and I can't explain it. To me, there are times that it's unreal. Um, I don't know. I keep my mind open though. I don't um, really believe either way. I'm just kind of trying to do anyway what's best for me, and make myself right and more healthy and things like that. All I could do is really do my best, whether it's for me or even doing my best for my kids or my husband or even my friends at times. I can at least try at the very least. Um, but other than that, what can you do when you don't even really hardly mention anything, or even by accident, maybe just something that you don't even realize is gonna nowadays trigger something in somebody, and they just they lose it. They go crazy and go off.
Mhm.
And trying to keep that focus on, okay, where do we go? Where do we go from here? and and how is this all connecting? Um, so that it doesn't bring you down either, and you don't. You have to keep yourself also in that way healthy. Sometimes you do have to disconnect with people, um, or they will bring you down with them as well, like some others.
Yeah. I'm going to step back to what she said. How do we know this is even real? Well, I would say that you would have to define real. What is real itself? Because, quite frankly, in a lesson I learned a long time ago when I first started getting on the internet, it took me a while to learn it. But this lesson was that when I'm on the internet and interacting with people, it's not real life. Sure, it's real enough online. I mean, I consider you, most of you guys, my friends. But when I step into real life, you guys don't come with me. So that little lesson in the difference between hit me hard and I learned it well. So in that regard, reality is your perception. It's what you think, what you know.
Right. And I think I need to give, of my definition anyway, I think I need to give a little better definition of my own of what health has to do with timelines. If you're being bogged down by all this bad stuff and your mind is going crazy, like a lot of these people, yes, spirituality is still there because it's everywhere, but they're not grasping it. They're not grasping it at all. And they will follow different realities of their own that have nothing to do with that. I've seen it. And so it messes with their timeline in that way. They're not um, they're not doing what they could be doing for themselves. Mm, yeah, it's hard to explain for me. I'm not a very good explainer. But maybe you can get something out of that.
No, Disavow put this in the chat. I think what they're trying to say is that the bottleneck in the timeline is basically making it harder for you to make the right decisions to stay healthy. I would say yes, but bigger than that. There's more to it, but yes, that's essentially true.
Right.
Now, making it harder for you to make the right decisions is kind of the secondary part of it, at least in my way of thinking. Man made it difficult for the common person to make decisions on their own, to make critical thinking decisions because of all the input from all sides they've been getting. You know, from the food. I mean, everything's fast food. That's practically poisonous to you. To you guys could come up with a list just as much as I could. But yes, it's made to essentially keep you unhealthy, so it's easier to manipulate. I mean, we keep cows in corrals. We don't let them pass the fence line. Well, that's because we want to make it easy for us to pull that cow into the slaughterhouse and get some beef out of it. Oversimplification, but you get the gist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to remind you guys, I got the StreamYard link up there at the top of the chat. Go ahead and jump up here and join in the conversation with us. All right.
Mhm.
Yeah, the confusion is manufactured. If it wasn't for all the interference, then we would have a very, very different society right now. Very different society.
And I think that's a great word, interference. That I was actually looking for that word when I was trying to explain the pollution in the air, because there's a lot of interference going on there.
Yeah, sorry, Scrimshaw, but it does all connect together. I guess I just didn't get a good enough connection for you as far as what I've been explaining. Oh, I see. Well, I'd like to hear it.
I do too. I want to hear Scrimshaw what she thinks about it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that as well, where people have different ideas, but they're actually thinking along the same lines. Um, Sometimes it gets a little, especially for me. I'm not very. That's why. Okay, I know I sound like I'm talking in some kind of code here, but I do have I do have this thing about explaining things. I have a hard time explaining things, but that's why I listen mostly. Um, I know what I'm experiencing, what I want to say, those types of things, but I'm not, just one of those people that are good at picking the words at the time. Ever since I was in the hospital, my brain has not worked exactly the same. So I have to struggle with thinking about that now, as I'm speaking. So it is a struggle for me to get things out. But basically, I think most people understand what it is I am trying to get out.
Sorry, I got myself a little distracted. I was typing in something in chat. And I'm a slow typer.
And that's the thing. I believe that there are many different timelines, but I believe that somehow we have run into, or somehow we're living in two timelines.
Well, okay, I can actually throw a little bit more onto that aspect of it. I meant to say something about this earlier when you were talking about it, but I believe that our reality is not the same reality we were born with. I
Yeah,
think,
I understand that
yeah,
completely.
yeah, I think our reality was shattered. I think it was shattered a few times actually, but the one time was, I believe, right when CERN went activated, and they started messing around with that. Now, I think it was done before also, but I can't confirm it.
Right,
Not like I can. This time I felt it and I knew it happened. Everything seemed to shift,
right.
and I can't describe it other than that. I felt it when it happened, and that was CERN. And yeah, ever since then, we've been in an alternate universe. And quite frankly, it's a universe where it's not as beneficial to goodness.
Right. And I've thought about that as well. I've thought about CERN and You know, there's if you look at all the different things that the people who are funding a lot of these things are into and have been into, whether it be, you know, um, how do I say it? Something that people may think is more mundane than other things that they're into, such as modifications of our weather and things of that sort. Um, they've had their hands in a lot of these things. Therefore, how could you not expect them to do what they're doing now? I mean, they're all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, Scrimshaw mentioned the poles shifted. That's true. And that's on a cycle in its own.
Right.
Um, and, well, quite frankly, it coincides with everything else that's going on. I mean, everything you have to admit is coming to a head. And like I said, this video basically talks directly about it. Now, they put it in more, I guess, scientific terms and things like that.
Mhm.
Because quite frankly, the dude's a computer guy, mathematician type. So, I mean, you know, you have to take that into consideration. But
Mhm.
the long and the short of it is that it's apparent, and most people can actually feel this happening. They might not recognize it per se, but they can feel something. Lots of
Right.
people.
Hmm. Even if they don't know what it is or think of it differently, um, they're feeling it. They're feeling something, and there a lot of people are expressing that.
Sunfish said, was Y2K actually real?
Hmm.
um, yes and no. Um, the hype wasn't real because, quite frankly, I mean, there was a lot of people who was like, "Well, I'm not sure what's going to happen," blah blah blah. But quite frankly, if you were a numbers guy and a computers guy, you knew, okay, we just have to go in here and change a couple of things, and we'll be good to go.
Hmm.
But Y2K, the hype, well, you can just look at it as the same hype we had with the cough, the flu.
Well, there was some real craziness going on at that time. I remember some people just spending all their money to depletion because they really thought something that huge was going to happen.
Hmm? And the hype and everything is what they want. The more chaos it generates, the better off the more things that they can get past the public, which enables them to get more stuff past the public later, which enables them to get more stuff passed by the public later. Like I said, these guys play the long game, real long game.
Oh yeah, they did. Um, Somebody was talking about a book that that someone wrote, I think in the 80s. But I've seen a lot of these things being written even way before then. Um, and it's I when this stuff was really starting to happen, I pulled out some of those books and I looked at them and I thought, I when I read them the first time, it was like, okay, you know, you put that information aside and you hold it in your head, whatever, and you put the book to the side and it's there. You read it once, you do it again, you read it, another book, and then something like this happens, and you go back and you're like, I have a new outlook now on what I had read before, and didn't I see it just differently than what I saw it the first time that I read it.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just reading the chat again. Disavowed was talking about 9/11. Well, well, affect words. They're hard. I've seen videos where they claim that 9/11 affected the Earth's frequency. Well, think about it. I know it's not really an exact, but think about the Twin Towers as tuning forks. Big old piece of metal. When they get struck by something, they vibrate. And that changes the frequency. Now, they are anchored to the ground. So it would transfer the frequency, along with all the other frequencies that's going on, as in frequency of footfalls on the city streets. Um, just the frequencies of our individual bodies themselves. I mean, yes, their frequency could have been affected because it could have changed the frequency of, say, the rock slightly. Maybe for a short time, maybe for a more permanent basis. But quite frankly, I don't have that knowledge. But if you think about it logically, yeah, that's very possible. I mean, if I attach a metal rod into stone and smack that metal rod with another metal rod, it's going to vibrate inside that rock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's maybe oversimplifying and everything, but yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
Right.
But everything in this universe has its own frequency. Down to every grain of sand has its own frequency.
And it's
And
also interesting that I've
Mhm.
heard, sorry,
Go ahead.
it's also interesting that I've heard in different places as well that people have, like, talking about coming back in time, I guess,
Hmm.
supposed time travelers, or even people who may not have supposedly time traveled but have seen what might have been coming, and they knew they couldn't change it, but they at least were able to help make it better or ease people more into it than what it could have been. In other words, it could have been worse, and for some reason they wanted to lessen the pain for everybody, even though people are still in pain and going through what they're going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Scrimshaw made a point there. The negative fear frequency, etc. Emotions change the frequency. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said earlier, when you get a group of people together concentrating on the same thing, it will do things. Most definitely. Now, you get a bunch of people screaming about fear and going crazy, it's going to be contagious.
Mhm. Right. And Disavowed even mentioned the William Cooper book, Behold the Pale Horse. I have that book. That's one of the ones I was actually speaking about.
All right. Have a great night. Sweet dreams.
Have a good night.
But yeah, I say it over and over and over because it's just so damn true. It's all connected. All this connects to everything. And what we put out, we get back. And those are vibrations, frequencies. And if you go into string theory, that's the basics of string theory. It's vibrations, frequencies. This little string vibrates at a certain frequency to be a particle of wood. This string over here vibrates at a certain frequency to be a blood vessel. This is the basics. Everybody goes down to the atom, but it goes down further, down to strings. Now, granted, as far as science as a whole right now, We can't prove it, but everything is pointing towards it, like it's magnetic north. String theory, look it up, guys. Cruise it in your spare time when you have a few minutes to basically burn some new pathways in your brain, because that's some good shit. And it explains a lot of different things that I talk about as far as dimensions. Hey, Miss Red Badger, good to see you.
Hi, Miss Red Badger.
Yeah, we all doing that vibration. Yeah. Now, like I said, I got that link up there. Go ahead and join me for your 2 cents on the situation. And if not, I'm going to give it about maybe 5-10 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and shut her down so I can go ahead and get some sleep tonight. I didn't get my butt to sleep in time last night. Irritating. It's bad having a Monday and being groggy.
You need some sleep, Bex. Here, let
Yeah.
me rub your nice soft brown fur to sleep.
Yeah. If you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly.
Maybe you can put on one of my readings and fall asleep.
There you go. That's a good idea. Take my laptop in and put it on my shelf. Hell yeah. Let's make some good good story. Well, that
There's
would put me right out.
yeah, there every time we talk about timelines or I'm speaking with someone about timelines, I get a lot of, well, anything really. I get these things in my head just from everywhere. And um I was thinking about you know that sitcom Big Bang Theory. There's that one where they're talking about timelines, and one says, I think it was remember the two from Roseanne? Um the one that played David and the other one that played Darlene.
Hmm.
In Big Bang Theory, they were like dating for a little bit,
Yeah.
or maybe just seeing each other. I don't know. And
Yeah.
they were talking about it, and one says, "I like my strength. I like my mine. What was it? My theory stringy," and the other one says, I like mine loopy." So they both have like different theories about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot of people still cling on to the folding of space thing, which is actually a thing, but they have a hard time equating that with string theory in itself, at least to my loose knowledge of it. But I don't know. I always find this stuff so fascinating just because I love imagining like different dimensions and how they could be and what's it look like on the event horizon of a black hole, stuff like that. I don't know.
Right.
I'm a
Did you
nerd.
did you see not too long ago? Um, they said that they had found a black hole with light in it.
Hmm.
I don't remember where I had read that. Um, but yeah,
Interesting.
I've seen that somewhere.
So was it like flash of light or something like that, or something like in well
They didn't really. What I read was a small thing. I didn't click on it. I
uh,
read the small synopsis of it, so it wasn't. All I read really was just that they had found the light inside. That it was. They'd never seen anything like it before.
hmm. Well, if you run across that, put that in my Discord under the science channel.
Hmm.
I'd like to check that out.
Vax, I finally had time to come up here with you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I was on and I was reading one of my stories, and I it didn't take. I think it was, I don't know, maybe around 50 minutes.
Hmm.
So I wasn't on there very long, and I did that, and I saw you come on, and I was like, yes, I finally made it to one of Vex's streams.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, as soon as I clicked, view on YouTube through StreamYard and stuff, I saw that you were live. And I went, "Ah, damn it!"
Well, we still all love each other.
That's right. We know we're there in spirit. Yeah, I'll go ahead and wind this down. I want to thank Survival for coming up earlier and hanging out with us and throwing his 2 cents on everything. I want to thank you, Susanna, for coming up here, of course. You're welcome anytime, you know that. And I'd
Thank
like
you,
to thank,
Vex.
yeah, you're welcome. Uh, I'd like to thank everybody in chat for coming in and participating and being as lively. Oh, we got a latecomer. Welcome, Anarchy.
What's going on? What's going on?
How you doing,
Hello,
brother?
Marky.
I'm all right. I didn't even notice. See, I'm not even getting dang notifications at all until almost, like either somebody's already into the stream or it's toward the end.
Yeah. Unfortunately, YouTube's like that. I have a bot in my Discord that doesn't even, put my own lives in it anymore.
Right
Hmm.
on.
Yeah,
How
I
are
got
y'all
it.
doing today?
Yeah, pretty good. We're thinking a little bit about science, a little bit about nature, a little bit about spirit. Mixing it up a little.
Right on.
Yeah. I played a video a little earlier, which, well, actually, I'll recommend to you. Go ahead and check out the link in the description in YouTube and check that out when you get some free time. It's only like a little over 11 minutes long, but it explains a lot of things and it's some good stuff, dude.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm always wandering around. I don't watch regular TV anymore. I just watch YouTube, so I wander all over the place.
Hey, God's Night. Good to see you. Man, people start coming in right as I'm about ready to close it down. That sucks.
I don't know. Bexy needs his.
There's a bunch of other streams going on at the same time. I think that's what it probably was.
Not yeah, pretty much. It seems like it's starting to happen like that. I mean, when I first started doing Friday nights, nobody was broadcasting on Friday nights. Now all of a sudden, everybody's broadcasting on Friday nights. What the hell?
Right. I noticed that as well.
After I came up with a cool, snappy title and everything. I mean, on Monday nights too. I mean, what the hell happened? I picked those nights because nobody was broadcasting.
Well, it's okay. I still love you, Vex. I'll still try to make it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And, I appreciate everybody coming in and checking out my streams. I like to think that I try and put out as much truth as possible. And I don't tell you I'm an expert. I'm far from it. I'm one of those jack of all trades type of things. But what I do put forth, I want you guys to know that I believe what I'm saying, if nothing else. And I don't want to steer anyone wrong. I always ask, if you don't believe in what I'm saying, that's cool. I'm cool with that. I'd like to hear what your opposing views are. And maybe I can consider those views into my views and maybe alter my views accordingly. To me, I don't care what the truth is. I just want to know it.
Well, that makes for a healthy discussion.
Absolutely. And we should have more and more of this with everyone. I mean, quite frankly, I'm surprised that half the people in chat aren't trying to get up on the panel to put their 2 cents on it, just because I know there's a bunch of freaking smart ass people in there. I don't mean smart asses. I mean smart people.
I know what you mean, Vex. I listen to some of them too, and I love listening to some of them as well. And I think that's why I love to listen to all of you, because it just I love to take all that information in. There's always something that we're still learning, and you know, hey, the more I can make myself better, I can take that criticism as well.
Yeah, I don't do this YouTube channel because it's just good therapy for me. I do this because I feel compelled to do it. That's the only reason, really. The root of it. I I've said it many times before in different streams. This would be the last thing I would have considered doing 10 years ago. I'm afraid of speaking in public. I'm afraid of, well, talking a lot. But something pushed me into doing this, and I don't take it lightly. I really don't. Like I said, all I want to do is put forth the truth as I see it. If you disagree, I'm more than happy to discuss it with you. I don't want to hear I want to hear everybody's views. As a matter of fact, one of the things I want to put out to everybody who's listens to my broadcast, I want you all to throw in ideas. What do you want to talk about on shows? You know the main themes for the shows. Monday nights, pretty much talk about whatever, any type of topic, really. On Fridays, I mainly want to talk in the realm of rights and how people should stand up for them, and along those lines of the assembly. So I want you guys to go ahead and throw some ideas at me. What do you want me to discuss with people? Who would you like me to try and get on my show? What type of stuff would you guys really enjoy hearing? Is there something you want me to dive deep into?
Oh, sorry, I was laughing at God's Night 22. He says ham sandwiches, so
I could dive deep into a ham sandwich. But yes, I want you guys to go ahead and do that in the comments, so that I can read them and start doing some research on it. And if I don't know anything about it, or even if I do know something about it, I'll do some research on it, and we'll bring it up in we'll bring it up on the show. God's Night with the Funny. Pepper's Farm remembers.
I saw that.
He wants me to do the commercial. Hold on, I'm going to bring this up. Where is it?
Go ahead, Vex.
I haven't done this yet, but I've been wanting to. I made a little alterations to that so I could put it on the show. Oh, I gotta scroll up. Hold on. There we go. And now a word from our sponsor. Oh, first I gotta go. Hey,
Blue Eyed
Panther.
Good evening. Good
Hey,
evening,
Blue Eyed
Panther.
Panther.
You're just in time for the commercial. Time to pay the bills. Remember those sweet, warm New England summers? Remember the sipping lemonade underneath the shady tree? Remember when you hit that pedestrian in your car at the crosswalk and then just drove away? Vex remembers. But Vex ain't just going to keep it to Vex itself, free of charge. Maybe you go out there and get yourself a bunch of those pocket constitutions and hand them out. Maybe you talk a little about your God-given rights. Maybe this whole thing disappears. All right. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Vex Warfield, for doing this commercial.
Well, thank you, Vex.
I had to try so hard to keep from cracking up during it. Okay.
That commercial was endorsed by Vex.
Yeah. Okay. God's Night approves. There we go.
Good evening, Scrimshaw Rose. I see you out there also.
Oh, the self-replicating nanoscale robots. I seen that as well.
Oh,
Yes,
Yeah.
I did read about that.
Yeah, if you want a little background of that, all you have to do is go to Stargate, the series, and watch that. They pretty much cover a lot of different things.
Also on that, on the nanobots and stuff like that, look into like hydrogel. If
Mm,
anybody happens to look into that, that technology of just actually um, um, applicating where you don't have to get that stuff actually used a syringe. They got a thing that's called hydrogel, where you can just basically look like a band-aid, stick on your arm, and it's got micro needles on it, and
yep.
that's how they get a lot of that stuff in you now too. That's some of the other technology that I've been working on, and it's available.
Yeah. They're getting sneakier and sneakier by the day.
Well,
And
I mean, eventually, I mean, I know this is probably, it's probably going to happen sooner than later, but eventually, what they want to do is just get it to the point where you'll start doing it, injecting yourself or whatever. You know what I mean? They'll just like give like home tests or home things that they'll just put in the mail or whatever. And you can just, do it yourself type of stuff. You know what I
mhm,
mean?
Like giving yourself insulin.
yep.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they want to eliminate it where you have to go to the dang hospital, whatever, and all that stuff. No, they want you to
Mhm.
do it on your own, with your own consent and your own, ability. It, it, I'm losing the words. I'm not finding the right words, but um, it's one of them things. It's like, take your pill every day.
Yep.
Mhm.
I believe
Yes.
there's a movie made a while back called Equilibrium. Check it out.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of movies and stuff like that that I guess you can consider like um, quote unquote like predictive programming, or it was actually a real life event that they tried to make look like fiction and made a movie about it just so they can say that's like plausible deniability. It's like, oh,
Yep.
you're crazy, you're a tinfoil hat guy, that was a movie, that's not real life, that kind of thing.
Right.
And you notice it's all these different movies that have touched upon things that have happened in the future. A lot of them didn't go the full story. They just used a bit of the story so
Yeah.
that it created that, oh, that was just one part of that story. But if you take all these movies and look at them at the same time, you're starting to get a big picture.
Mhm.
Have
And
you ever seen that movie Wag the Dog?
yes,
No, that's
but
one I haven't
a
seen
long
it.
time ago.
It's a good one. It's a good one though. You know, um, like quote unquote spirit conspiracy theories and all that. Uh, or even like I'll even go even another one that's interesting. What was it? Arnold Schwarzenegger was in it. It was like was the Running Man. The Running Man.
Yeah, that had some, it had quite a few things in it now, didn't it?
Mhm.
Paul Harvey. Yeah, that's a good one. Paul Harvey. If I was the devil.
Yep,
That was a good story that he said.
absolutely. That's one of the things I promote to everybody. Check that out and tell me if he didn't call it.
Oh, he called it, dude. He was on top of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to play that video again on my stream. I like it.
If I was the devil,
I might do it for Friday's show. Use it
Prince
as an
of
opener.
Darkness.
But I'm gonna go ahead and close this down. I'm gonna have to put my butt to bed so I can get up in the morning and make that money so I can buy all the preparatory supplies that I need. Not to mention, I'm getting a Jeep Cherokee.
Well, congratulations, Vex.
Well, it's not solid yet, but I'm
But
going to
it's
go and
coming.
check it out. But
Something's coming. I'm
yeah,
not. I'm just wishing good for you, Vex.
well, I'll take it. I'll take whatever prayers you give me, all
Mhm.
the good wishes, all the good things, because quite frankly, I'm putting it out to you guys every night right before I go to bed. Uh, Most of you might know Scrimshaw is my Reiki teacher, and she's been teaching me to do Reiki long distance. And so one of my things is I go through and send Reiki to specific people. And then after I'm done with that, I send it out to everyone. So I'm hoping that you get my waves.
Oh, thank you,
And I
Vex.
hope you all are basically getting some healing from it. And with
Vex,
that, I want to
thank,
thank you
thank you
again,
very much.
Suzanne.
I feel touched.
Thank you
I'm
very
sorry I
much.
had to say that. I
I
love you,
appreciate it.
everyone. I don't mean to talk over you, Vex. I'm just I'm just ornery today.
Excellent. No, I don't mind. All right, I want to thank you for coming up here and hanging out with me and talking and speaking your mind. Anarchy, I wish you'd have came on sooner, but you know it is what it is.
Right
Um,
on, right on. Well, you guys have
uh,
a good night. I appreciate being on.
for future's sake, for everybody's sake, I usually go live 10 p.m. or around 10 p.m. Central on Fridays and Mondays. I'm going to investigate doing a different day, so I'll keep you guys appraised of that. And with that, I'll go ahead and tell you all good night and sweet dreams. And I yield the floor.
Good night, everyone.